So starting basically right now, that lunatic on a power trip is sitting on top of a bunch of atomic weapons and delivery systems that can hit Japan, South Korea, China, you name it. And that's why China has said, we need to de-escalate this right now, and North Korea, turn back your coal, your main export, and we may have to nuke you if you test a nuke. We don't know the deal behind the scenes with Trump and the Chinese dictator, but they've signaled that maybe Trump's going to sit back and the Chinese are going to hit North Korea. And the reason that the clock's ticking on this is they're getting better and better weapons. They're getting better missiles. So we just can't sit there and leave it alone anymore. That's why this is coming to a head. I get accused by MSM sometimes of fear-mongering when they're the ones that are actually pushing the world towards war. Quite frankly, I was sitting back looking at my children last night and this morning at breakfast, but at dinner and breakfast, and I was just thinking to myself how crazy this is and how the world has probably never been this close to all-out nuclear war than we are right now. That's what the analysts are saying. It's what the Chinese communists are saying. It's what the Pentagon's saying. It's what North Korea is saying. And you add all these other factors, Russia and Syria and social unrest and collapsing third world countries with huge migrant flows, we are entering a time of unprecedented crisis. Now let me go over some of these headlines for radio listeners that tie into what I was just breaking down with this huge, and that's what it is, showdown tomorrow. I'm definitely going to have to be sitting by the little pocket studio that is an iPhone or Droid and being ready to go live tomorrow if anything begins to unfold, because tomorrow is the birthday of the first dictator of Korea, Kim Jong-un's grandfather, Kim Jong-il's father. And they are saying they're going to test their biggest atomic weapon yet tomorrow, strangely enough on a active fault line there, right there in the middle of the Pacific Rim, right across from Japan, by a quasi-active volcano. So we're literally entering a James Bond movie with a lot of seismologists, mainstream news saying it could cause a major earthquake or the volcano to explode like Mount St. Helens. NBC News, U.S. may launch strike if North Korea reaches for nuclear trigger. Now, the president came out, we have a clip coming up, it's on Infowars.com, and he said, North Korea is a problem that will be taken care of. I've given the military total authorization. That clip's coming up as well. But here are the headlines, because I tend to want to dial stuff back, but Japan's readying for nuclear war. Japan's getting 60,000 people out of South Korea, their citizens. North Korea just evacuated most people out of their capital city. This is serious. And you've got power-tripping loons in North Korea that can't even build an automobile and can't even keep electricity on, but in 2 cities. But they've got a brainwashed mass of slaves that'll do whatever they're told in human wave attacks. And they've had a dictatorship since before the Korean War that killed over 1 million people on both sides. More bombs were dropped on North Korea in the Korean War, the Korea Police Action as it was called by the UN, than were dropped in all the Pacific Theater in World War II. So the Koreans are just kept in fear, ready for the U.S. to invade any minute, as they're told from birth to death, from cradle to grave, from the time they come out of their mother's womb till the time they get put 6 feet under. China warns World War III is inevitable as North Korea prepares latest nuke test. So we're in a massive countdown here. So let's look it up. Let's look up, actually. I meant to do this last night, but forgot to. Can you guys do some research? My great team is even better at research than I run on the show. They do a great job there as well. But if the whole research team in there can look at past atomic tests, there's been 6 since Kim Jong-un ascended the communist throne of the people. Total oxymoron, but that's how it always works. When did they test them last time? During the day, late at night? Seems like sometimes in the middle of the night here, but that's in the middle of the day there. And that's where the time zones basically... What time is it in North Korea right now? Because we're talking in 12 hours or how long, most of their days already going to be up over there. They're 13 hours ahead of us. So 13 hours from now, it'll be almost tomorrow here. So in the middle of the night tonight, when you tuck your children in to go to bed, from any time on then, they can do the test. In fact, sooner. If they're 13 hours ahead, then it's almost the 15th there right now. So anytime in the next 24 hours or so, they detonate this nuclear weapon, and there's been rumblings that Trump might strike it. And I understand why we haven't struck them before, because we don't have a nuclear war, but Kim Jong-un keeps getting better and better weapons, better and better missiles. Every week, the last few months, he fires a missile from North Korea 90 kilometers over and has high-powered missiles with conventional payloads to explode right off the Japanese coast, menacing them, saying, we'll launch nerve gas, we'll launch atomic weapons, we'll nuke you. If one shot gets fired by South Korea on the DMZ, if anything happens, if we hear a car backfire, we are going to unleash nuclear weapons on Japan, nuclear weapons on South Korea, conventional artillery barrage of 100,000 pieces of artillery. They don't have electricity, but they got artillery. Like any other knuckle-dragging communist hellhole. And then meanwhile, right next door, South Korea is 40 times more prosperous and one of the richest countries in the world, and they never had any freedom until the United States liberated them. They never had freedom. Koreans were always slaves. And now they get 50-something years of somewhat freedom, and they're the apple of the world's eye when it comes to so many things. Just there you go. Oh, but MIT's teaching high school and elementary school and middle school teachers how to teach communism to your class. Published by MIT. That's the technology we teach in America now. We invented the internet, but now we teach how to be good little communists. It's amazing. So, China warns World War III is inevitable as North Korea prepares latest nuke test. We will go to war if they choose. North Korea warns aggressive Trump not to provoke the North Korean capital. Breaking, Japan preparing to evacuate 60,000 citizens from South Korea. Now, this is a story from the UK Express that is hype, and I'm not defending Trump. I've looked at the already troop developments, the troop movements that were ordered under Obama that are continuing. Donald Trump edges closer to Russia. U.S. soldiers land in Europe after Afghan Moab. Donald Trump has sent U.S. military to Poland to joint NATO multinational battalion just after the U.S. president dropped the mother of all bombs, the Moab, on Afghanistan. Those troop deployments are rotations. They were already set. Obama put the order in to increase troops by at least 10,000 in the middle of last year. Remember that? Well, that's part of these rotations now taking place. Tillerson has said that the U.S.-Russian relations have hit bottom. That's a diplomatic way, in my research view, it's my opinion, researched opinion, to then say they need to get better, we've hit bottom, to shut down all the claims we're soft on Russia, saying we've hit bottom, now let's come back up. And, of course, that's what he said in the speech as well. Trump may send 50,000 troops to Syria. Well, I told you a couple weeks ago that from our sources, but also MSM admits it, they just don't say the numbers, there's well over 10,000 troops just the last month that have been injected into Iraq and into Syria. And right there in the border region, and they're forcing al-Qaeda, ISIS out. So that's all part of this escalation. Trump says it's just so that we can defeat al-Qaeda and ISIS and have their flank covered. I'll take that at face value because the president's done most of what he said he would do. But I got to tell you, I don't like it, and I'm watching it very, very closely because that makes Iraq and Afghanistan, that are horrible quagmires. Afghanistan is the known definition of a quagmire in the encyclopedia. This will be much, much worse than that. So that's just some of what we've got here, and I'm going to cover a lot more when we come back from break. But undoubtedly, when I go to bed tonight, while I'm sitting here right now, I mean, we're talking about an hour or so, it's going to be the new day over in the Korean Peninsula and the South China Sea and Japan and China. How this works is there's different angles, but they nuke test, and then they start preparing to fire more rockets into the South China Sea, something they said they're getting ready to do. In fact, they told U.S. media, North Korea did yesterday, their state-run media said, prepare for a big event in the next 24 hours. Well, we're now 24 hours later. And I looked at that and I thought, 24 hours, that's the 14th, not the 15th. But when they said it, it was basically 24 hours for them. Because right now, as we speak in the next hour or so, it's going to be tomorrow there. So I thought, the big event's on the 15th. Why would they say it'd be today? And I went, oh, we're on the other side of the world. That's right. So starting basically right now, that lunatic on a power trip is sitting on top of a bunch of atomic weapons and delivery systems that can hit Japan, South Korea, China, you name it. And that's why China has said, we need to de-escalate this right now. And North Korea, turn back your coal, your main export, and we may have to nuke you if you test a nuke. We don't know the deal behind the scenes with Trump and the Chinese dictator, but they've signaled that maybe Trump's going to sit back and the Chinese are going to hit North Korea. And the reason that the clock's ticking on this is they're getting better and better weapons. They're getting better missiles. So we just can't sit there and leave it alone anymore. That's why this is coming to a head. China warns World War III is inevitable as North Korea prepares latest nuke test. Daily Express, Pyongyang, or however you say it, playing with fire. Trump prepared to intervene. World War III is near. Officials in China have warned as North Korea prepares for yet another nuclear missile test. And the U.S. and Donald Trump are poised to intervene. Now, the good news is Trump is signaling that he probably won't respond to a nuclear test. But if they fire another missile and then it crashes a couple miles off the coast of Japan and almost kills people in fishing boats, has happened multiple times, they're going to have to respond. Because he keeps threatening to put atomic weapons or nerve gas on top of them. You can't just sit there with a gun firing across your neighbor's yard when they're out there, you know, mowing the grass or whatever. That's basically what Kim Jong-un's doing. I don't particularly want Trump to strike, but what are you supposed to do when we have defense treaties with Japan, when they're getting upset, and then China's gotten so belligerent, us letting North Korea run around and do all this, that they're taking over the South China Sea. So this is Trump reasserting American sovereignty and dominance with our key trading partners. We're going to open the phones up and get your take on how you think Trump is handling this when we come back at the next segment. China calls for halt to U.S.-North Korea tensions. The media had spun this saying, oh, North Korea says there's a big event coming the next day. And then I guess it was, Daria pointed this out to me, it was a street opening. So they hyped it like a big event was coming. There's other big events, too, the nuclear test. They've talked about that for a long time, but our media ran with this, so that's an example of how you get more information. Concerns have been growing that North Korea could soon conduct a 6th nuclear test or more missile launches.
And just so we're clear here, al-Nusra is al-Qaeda's Syrian branch, and they have direct alliances with ISIS. Not that the distinction between al-Nusra and the FSA would really change the equation. The FSA has publicly acknowledged on several occasions that they are cooperating with al-Nusra, and the FSA command itself has been dominated by Islamic extremists since at least 2012.
أما فيما يخص بعض الفصائل التي مثلا يطالب الغرب بتصنيفها كمنظمات إرهابية جبهة النصرة. نعم، نحن نشعر أن هذه الجبهة بمكان ما هي يمكن الحوار معها حول نعم حول طبيعة الدولة القادمة، حول شكل الدولة القادمة، حول إمكانية هذه البلد على إقامة دولة التي تناسب الجميع. نحن في مكان ما يجب أن نتعاون ويجب أن نتحاور، وأنا على صلة بالجميع. أنا على صلة بالجميع ولا أخفي سرا بذلك، حتى فيما يخص الأخوة في جبهة النصرة، ونتعاون في أمكنة كثيرة.
So, if the FSA and al-Nusra work together, and al-Nusra is working with ISIS, why haven't those funding and arming the FSA been charged with providing material support to terrorists? But Russia's airstrikes are killing civilians! Look, we have proof from the White Helmets, an NGO funded by the UK government. That's funny. This image looks an awful lot like this one, which was posted on September 25th, 5 days before the airstrikes even began. That was a bit problematic. So they deleted the tweet, but not before the US and its allies would use the occasion to take their hypocrisy to a new level. On October 2nd, the US issued a joint statement with France, Germany, the UK, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, and Qatar, calling for Russia to, quote, immediately cease its attacks on the Syrian opposition and civilians. Just to put this into perspective, the Saudis have been bombing Yemen, with US support, since March of 2015, killing thousands of civilians and creating a humanitarian crisis of epic proportions. The irony also seemed to be lost on Washington, who after decades of military occupations and drone campaigns, which have killed millions of civilians, topped it off by repeatedly bombing a Doctors Without Borders hospital in Afghanistan just 1 day later. Oh, this is awkward. What can we do to save face? Hey, our friend John McCain has an idea. We should just send our moderate jihadists some more weapons.
They're attacking the very guys who we want to see topple Assad. You would let American planes just continue to pass them and let them do that?
No, but I might do what we did in Afghanistan many years ago to give those guys the ability to shoot down those planes. That equipment is available.
Who would be shooting them down?
The Free Syrian Army, just like the Afghans shot down the Russian. No, just like the Afghans shot down Russian planes after Russia invaded Afghanistan.
So we armed extremists in Afghanistan, which became the Taliban, which we're still bombing, often inaccurately, to this day. And you want to do it again? This isn't a plan. This is desperation. Washington has been outmaneuvered. This turn of events is on par with a 2013 episode where the US-backed rebels got caught using sarin gas against civilians. Only now, there aren't nearly as many options left. With Russia providing air support and Iran assisting in the ground campaign, the US no longer has any leverage in Syria. And if Putin is able to maintain momentum, this could very well be a turning point regionally as well. That doesn't mean the game is over though. The US and its allies aren't going to just walk away from this. You can rest assured that Washington is scrambling to cook something up right now. And if the last few years are any indicator, this could get very interesting. This video is Creative Commons. You have permission to download and distribute any and all of our content through any venue, commercial or non-commercial. If you want more people to see this information, please remember to like, share, and comment. If you want to see how far the rabbit hole really goes, keep in touch. Subscribe to Storm Clouds Gathering on YouTube, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Google+, and you can sign up for email notifications of new releases on our website, stormcloudsgathering.com. We also want to say thank you to all of you who donated this past month to keep this project going, and to all of you who've offered to volunteer. There aren't enough hours in a day to respond to each of you individually, but you have made a difference.